Hey guys, it's Jenny with Art for Good. Today we're going to do an unconventional landscape. We're going to do a split piece with the top having texture elements and then the bottom being an acrylic paint pour. So let's jump right in. I am using on the top portion, I'm just using spackle from the hardware store. I also can put a link to a product on Amazon I found that is pretty comparable to that. You can also use joint compound or modeling paste, whatever you happen to have around or whatever's on sale. I have found this is the most economical way to make texture on a painting. So I am just spreading this spackle out as thin as I can and as smooth as I can on the top portion. I use just one line of painter's tape to help protect the bottom piece. So the top of this is going to be the sky. I'm going to do a starburst pattern, similar to what I've done in some other recent pieces. And I think it'll go really well. I think we're going to spray paint this one gold and see how it goes. All right, I'm going to take my handy dandy tool here. This I found was super easy for making very straight lines. You can use a ruler, you can use a craft stick, whatever you have. Just make sure that you use that intersection point as your reference for all of the markings you make, and that'll create a beautiful starburst pattern. So we're just going to keep going like this until we have lines that are very close together, and it's going to give an amazing effect. This is a 24 by 36 canvas. It's a gallery wrap. And as you can see, I had done a painting before on it and didn't really love the effect of that painting, which happens. It's quite funny. People assume that if you've been doing this a while, that all of your paintings come out great all the time, and that is so not true. I think I really only have maybe 1 in 3 or so of my paintings that I really like enough to put out there for the world and to do a tutorial on to teach others how to do it. So if you're not quite getting it yet and you're not happy with your results, just keep trying. I promise you, even the experts and YouTube folks with way more followers than me have their days where they're not doing anything correctly either. So in between, I don't know, maybe every 2 or 3 passes with this tool, I'm just wiping it off with a paper towel. It just helps keep the kind of crumbly parts from causing issues with my pattern and just makes a cleaner line. So this spackle takes about 1 to 2 days to dry before you can paint it. And what I do after it dries is I just do a quick pass with a sanding sponge. I'll put a link to some that you can see what I'm talking about, but essentially it's like sandpaper, but it's a sponge and it's a very fine grain. It just helps take off any extra spackle that has adhered, like any crumbs or things like that, so that when you're painting, they're not going to start flaking off on you. I will tell you though, doing a coat of spray paint over this once it dries really seals everything in very nicely, especially the metallic version that I have been using. All right, so once this is dried, we're going in with a bright gold spray paint. I'm just gonna do a really thick coat and let that dry. All right, so you will see here, don't be alarmed that the bottom has turned bronze. This actually was the layer underneath that paint that you saw in the first piece, and actually it started to peel off. So I had really put on a super thick layer in that first piece because I had redone it about 200 times. And so it started to peel. So I was able to just peel it off completely from the bottom piece just so it doesn't cause issues when I do another paint pour over it. And I'm gonna make sure to do a lighter coat this time. And I used the sanding sponge on the bottom as well, just to get off any extra texture. So I'm doing 3 flip cups here. The first one, as you can see, I was trying to avoid putting it on the top part, but that didn't work very well. So essentially I'm doing 3 cups with different colors, and I will go over those colors and put those in the description below. So the top closest to the sun is a lighter, more lighter colors incorporated, and then the bottom there's more dark. So we have a titanium white, we have a cerulean blue, a gold, we have an aqua green, and then the dark blue is called Payne's Gray, which is actually kind of a dark bluish gray color. And the trick is I'm just going to completely tilt my canvas vertically so that it drips off in a very straight line. And I want as much paint as I can to run off of the canvas because that's going to help cover all these spots. But also the more that it stretches, the more interesting the effect. So I'm just filling in the spots that didn't have a lot of coverage. And I'm going to keep tilting and swiping until it looks like a little more seamless and all that bottom canvas has been covered. You'll see some of the parts on the edges it's starting to pull away from this metallic paint. I have noticed specifically with gold, it's a little bit of a challenge on the sides. So what I ended up doing at the end of this video, I actually wiped off the paint from the sides so that the sides remained gold and the rest was covered in paint. So it's just something to be thinking about if you are, going to venture into this metallic spray paint world. And I have a lot of other videos that I've done recently on this. If you're interested, I can put a link here to that playlist. But the paint does come off from the metallic base until it's dry, and then it's pretty safe. All right, so once that has dried, I have put my canvas vertically, and I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of aqua. I thought that the stark contrast of the gold against the other colors, I thought it was a little bright, so I'm just going to kind of dull the edges of it leading up to that gold sun in the center. I think I may try some other starburst pattern pieces without painting over it, because now that I look back and see this beautiful gold, I'm wondering why I painted over it, but that's the beauty of art. You can always keep creating and trying new things. All right, I'm also going to, in addition to aqua, go in with a little bit of Payne's Gray on the edges and let that dry. So now I am going to put some gold leaf back in. I'm using an adhesive pen from Decor, and I'm going to do some gold leaf at least in the center of this starburst. Gold leaf is always so messy. I will say I don't use it super often, and when I do, make sure it's in a place where it doesn't get all over everything else that's curing in my art studio. It's yes, it can get everywhere. And then you're just going to go over it with a brush to get off any remaining pieces. Now I built a dam out of tape in the bottom section of the ocean, and I'm going to resin just that piece. So here I'm using epoxy resin. For those of you who have followed me for a while, you know I have a love-hate relationship with resin, and I've done some tutorials to help you, but it is super finicky and high maintenance. It takes a good few hours of babysitting this to make sure you get a great finish. And if you have the time to devote to it, it is well worth it, because the shiny, glossy epoxy resin finish is just unmatched with anything else. All right, so once that's dried and we take all the tape off, this is the final piece. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know if you'd like to see some other compositions with this texture and acrylic paint pouring combination. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'll see you next time.